Today's fantastic, inspirational episode features John Abraham. He's someone I've wanted to podcast with ever since this podcast began, and I finally got the opportunity to dig deeper into his mind. He's someone I took inspiration from as a teenager, and he's someone who inspired me to take up fitness and weight training in my own life. I grew up watching his interviews, and the things he said about staying fit and healthy really stayed with me as I grew up. In fact, when we started BeerBiceps, we actually had a series called Bollywood Bodies, where I spoke about how you can target different muscle groups using different types of weight training. And one of those episodes was entirely based on John Abraham. Through the course of this particular podcast, he told me how he's already checked out BeerBiceps and he had checked out that content piece from back then. This and many more dream moments happened over the course of this conversation. It was one of the most memorable conversations for me personally. Remember, guys, through TRS, I'm just trying to have these heartfelt, deep conversations with people that I look up to, people that I wish to learn from. And I hope that you enjoy these conversations as much as I do. Remember to follow us on Spotify. We're a Spotify exclusive, which means that every episode is available on Spotify 48 hours before it's available anywhere else in the world. John's new movie, Attack, is going to be live in cinema halls on the 1st of April, 2022. But for now, enjoy this extremely heartfelt episode of The Ranveer Show. John Abraham, welcome to The Ranveer Show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
How are you feeling?
Good. A little tired, but always excited to get back to my workout after this. Yeah.
John Abraham gets tired.
Yeah. I mean, mentally, you're exhausted, but otherwise, I'm good. I'm really good.
So, I mean, it's a very genuine question to you. I'm not asking you as John Abraham, I'm just asking you as an older person. What happens with age, especially to a man's mind?
I think with age, a man gets more aware about his age.
Okay.
First, a man starts thinking about his energy levels as to how he can compete, how he can do things, how he can play a football match for 1.5 hours, how he can train for a couple of hours, So I think a man starts getting more aware about his age, maybe when his hair also starts falling. That it sounds crazy. It sounds very narcissistic, but these are things that affect men a lot. Or when there's a lot of loss of muscle, for example, for someone who's into training, these are things that kind of plague men. But on the emotional side, men kind of get into, and I think people get into with age. People get into retrospection. You think about how you spent your life. Like you're far younger than I am, Ranveer. So, I've traveled that journey and I look back and I think about all the mistakes I made and I think about all the things that I've done right. And then I realize that there's very little that I've done right. And there's a lot of it that I've done not so right.
Would you be open to sharing some mistakes?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've treated some people very fairly in my life, even though I didn't mean to. Growing up, for example, I could have been a better human being. I could have been a better partner. I could have been a better son. I could have been a better person. I could have been a better student. But yeah, I fell short. And I'm not trying to be philosophical here. I think I fell short on, I wouldn't say a lot of counts, on all counts. I'm not really matched up. So that's what age does for you. It makes you sit back and think about what have you really done right? Well, how can you mend it? How can you course correct? Can you course correct? Are you still making the same mistakes? And somewhere down the line, we still make the same mistakes. So it's just, I think it's a way of life. There are those days in life, Ranveer, which I'm sure even you must be, because you seem very spiritual. You have the Buddha in your house, for example.
I'm shocked that you've seen my house.
I
too,
love your
Radu.
house. I love your house.
but
I love your hall. I love the way you played with colors.
Thank you so
Your bedroom, because of Netherlands, because of the football aspect. That's my dad's favorite football team, and that's been our favorite football team growing up.
Wow.
Dutch football team. And then, you spoke about blue and you said, blue's not my favorite color, but I don't know what it does to me.
Yeah.
For example, So I think, spirituality is something that creeps in over a period of time.
Are you happy now?
Honestly, no. Honestly, no, because you're always wanting something more, not materialistic. You're always looking for something that you don't have. If I sit back and I look at it from the outside perspective, Ranveer, if someone looks at John Abraham, they'll say, but he's got all the bikes in the world. He's got a great car. He's got a great family. He's got a house. He's probably got money. He's got everything. So he should be happy. Technically, I would tick a lot of boxes. But when I sit back and I look at myself, am I really happy? Answer is no.
Can I just give you 2 sentences?
Of course.
And then answer the same question again. Like every woman for you at some point has been attracted to John Abraham. And every guy here at some point has been inspired by you at some point in their own life. Because we've like grown up watching you.
Oh, wow.
And Hrithik Roshan, you both together started this whole weight training culture in India. I don't even think it was that prevalent. So you've had like a cultural impact on your country through your work. That doesn't account for giving you the happiness that you deserve at this age?
It gives me a lot of happiness, and it makes me feel so good when you say it, Ranveer. And I thank you for saying it, and thank you for making me feel special. But when you're alone, when you're sitting in your house, in fact, you said it. You need your alone time. You like to sit alone. Sometimes, you know what I'm saying? When I sit alone and I retrospect, there are times that kind of take me down. There are also times that make me feel a little high. So I think happiness is a state of mind.
What's missing in your life?
I can't put a finger on it, but if I had to put a finger on something, I'd love to travel every day of my life. For example, I'd love to wake up in a new city. I'd love to probably be with the motorcycles in the Himalayas, for example. But this is all I romanticize about things. I don't really do it. So I'll have to tell you this, Ranveer. I have a friend, my age, cool guy, everything. I called him on his birthday. I said, "Where are you?" He's saying, "John, you haven't called me in a year." And I said, "Yeah, man, it's been a long time." He's saying, "I've settled down in Palma, in Spain." So Palma is the capital of this island in Mallorca.
Yeah.
Okay. He settled down there. And he told me something very interesting. He's saying, John, you talk about doing these things in your life. I've actually done it. So I'm happier than you are. Which he is. He plays tennis for 2 hours in the morning, goes in his convertible, goes to a cafeteria at the side of the road, has his coffee, figures out and says, "Hey, listen, today I just want to go for a trek or climb a mountain. I'll do that."
I have a rude question to you.
Yeah.
How have you like survived for so long? Like, because when I talk to someone who's around your age, you're 70s or 80s born
Correct.
people from media, I always ask them that what's the big battle in this industry, and they say the battle for relevance. And you've maintained your relevance like over a long time. And I feel that the core of it is gymming because it gives you discipline. It gives you much more than a body.
Totally.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Absolutely.
But other than that, like, how have you actually managed to survive for so long?
I think you've answered the question in your question. I've survived. I've not lived. There's a difference. You either exist or you live. When you live, you appreciate life. And there are times in my life where I've lived and I've appreciated life and I've woke up smiling. But the rest of the time, I've survived.
You've given away pieces of yourself.
I've given away pieces of myself. I've just probably, and I don't mean to sound pessimistic about life all the time, but I've imagine I've just kept my head above the water where my nostrils are just above the water and I'm looking not for relevance, but just finding self-peace. So I've just about survived.
Do you gain it from work?
Only from work. And work, so a lot of people say that money can't buy you happiness. And I agree. But money can buy you very close to it. So I think I've survived for a large part of my life just working and earning money and giving and supporting my family. And that gives me a lot of happiness.
How do you feel when a movie like Attack is just about to release? I mean, are you still nervous even at this stage?
No. So the thing is, I get nervous when I sign a film, Ranveer. That's when I get nervous. And honestly, that's when I know kya hoga mere film ke saath. And I'll tell you this about every film of mine I don't need to be politically correct about it. I know. Sometimes I do the film for the sake of a franchise, knowing that it won't do well. Sometimes I do a film because I love the concept. Sometimes I do a film because I feel content-wise it's probably the best film for me to do. But I pretty much know the fate of a lot of films of mine. So I don't feel nervous around the release.
How do you see your career panning out? Like, what's the trajectory? Where do you want to take it?
So, Ranveer, very honestly, I think I lost the John Abraham that I was in 2018-19 pre-pandemic
Why?
somewhere because I really didn't do films that I believed in. You know, I think Bartla House is probably the last, or maybe Madras Cafe before that, or you know, and I think I'm finding that space again. Will I do commercial films? Yeah, of course, I will do a one-off commercial film, and I'll enjoy it, and I'm not condescending towards it. But I really want to do the kind of content that I believe in. Like if you ask me, which is my favorite film, I'd probably tell you no smoking. You know, and people are like, "What the shit? How can that be your favorite film?" But no, I enjoyed it. So I think people have built their careers on successes. I think I built my career on failures. And like someone very interestingly told me that, John, you built your career on the choices you've made, and most of them have failed, but you've survived. You've survived. You've survived those because I'm known for the choices I make, and my choices are not always commercial. And when they're purely commercial, more often than not, they fail.
How do you survive through failure, man? Like that, when you're at that low moment of
Yeah.
failure, that's actually where a lot of people choose to not continue. Is it just about continuing?
It's just about believing in yourself. If tomorrow someone tells you, for example, God forbid, says your podcast is not working, you know, BeerBiceps is not working, and you go back, you sit in your beautiful home, sit in your hall on your blue sofa, and you're looking around and you're looking at the sea from your balcony, and you say, you know, there are two things that can happen to you. Either you have a feeling of self-doubt and you say, nahi yaar, I want to shut shop on everything. Yeah, I just don't want to do this. Must have crept up in your mind.
A lot.
Or you just sit alone and you ask yourself one question. Am I worth it? Do I have the conviction in myself to make this happen? If your answer is the latter, you'll make it happen. You will make it happen. You'll survive. You can have 10 failures. And I could have someone sit in front of me saying, which is your normal press question that an entertainment journalist usually asks you, आपकी 4 film fail हो गई तो आपको क्या expectation है? You know, that's a question you ask. How do you answer a question like that? You have to be very confident about yourself and say, no, I'll continue. I'll survive. At the most, what, Ranveer? If my fee is 10 rupees, I'll have to do it at 1 rupee. I have to do it free. I'll do it free. But I'll do what I'm convinced about doing.
Do you have any anger in you? Are you an angry person at all?
Oh, you get.
Dude, you're so like polite. You're so, and I've been seeing you in talk shows since maybe 15 years now,
Yeah.
and that's what I've always noticed about you. Even when I was a kid, I said this is such a polite person.
Yeah.
So I can't. Do you ever get angry? What are your flaws?
I do, but my anger is very internalized, and I think people very close to me, around me, see me when I'm upset. But when I'm upset, I don't explode. I implode. But if you ask me whether I get angry and I hold someone's neck and I kind of just scream and I bash, no.
The reason I ask you this is because I was trying to figure a theme for this conversation. Like somewhere as a creative, I have to think of something beyond just the person.
Correct.
And right now there's a lot of chatter all over the world. I think this is post-pandemic where we're talking a lot about men's emotional health, which is something that's not spoken about a lot.
So good, yeah.
Mental health, great. It's
Yeah.
addressed. But
Yeah.
there is this aspect of emotional health which is different. And
Correct.
it usually results from guys not being taught how to cry and guys not being taught how to emote themselves.
Correct.
And I think the older you get as a man, what you spoke about age
Yeah.
and reflection, this is a part of it.
Yeah.
But have you ever thought of this? Like, have you ever thought of baggage and things you've like just buried inside?
Yeah, all the time, yeah. All the time. There are skeletons still in my cupboard that haven't really come out. There are things that I'm being honest, I'm speaking man to man.
Yeah.
There are things that I'm like freaking extremely embarrassed about, you know, in life. But there are things that I've also learned. I've also course corrected a lot in the way I behave, in the way I conduct myself, in the way I behave with other people when a third person is not watching. You don't necessarily, a man's character is not known by the things he does because others are watching, but it's known by the things he does when people are not watching. That's most important. It's how you behave with your subordinates when you're all alone. How you behave with, if you call them subordinates, I call them people working with me. But you know, how
Teammates.
just how you behave with people in general. How you behave with yourself. How do you conduct yourself? Me, I was a late bloomer. So I started experiencing things at the age of like 25, 26, and then things in life started opening up. So today my director is like all flustered, for example, and he comes and he says, John, there's not enough awareness about the film. What do we do? I don't get flustered. But I see why he's flustered. It's the beginning of his career. He's worried and he has every right to be. And it's my job and my duty to make him understand that no, we'll do whatever we can. But I don't get flustered like he does. I know if the film's good, it'll work. And Ranveer, it's a great opportunity to do this interview with you. But by doing this interview with you, it's not going to guarantee 10 more ticket sales for my film.
Why are you doing it?
I'm just, honestly, I'll be very honest, I was getting an option and I happened to see, your vlog and a couple of things you've done. And I really enjoyed it. So I'm looking at this as an excuse. Very honestly, I'm not doing this and I'm saying this on record. This is not a promotional campaign for me. It's not a promotional campaign because I say this again and again, the best promotion for a film is the film itself. You make a crap film, it's never going to work. Yeah. You can promote it till the cows come home. You make a good film and you don't promote it for a single day, it'll work. It may open low, but it'll work. And that's always been my fundamental in life.
That's the MBA inside you speaking.
Totally.
Which is my question to you. I have a couple of questions I've always wanted to ask you because my mum used to use you as an example to tell me, hey, you better do your MBA in life. See when John Abrams.
But you're a IIT Kharagpur?
No. That's Flying Beast. I am an engineer, but I'm not from...
But your Wikipedia shows IIT Kharagpur.
I don't know, must be a mistake.
Yeah, please check, huh?
No.
When you go on to Google... It says IIT. I don't know why.
No, okay. I think they assume that all engineer turned YouTubers are from IIT for some reason.
Okay.
But anyway,
so you're an engineer?
Yes.
From?
From DJ Sangvi. It's a college.
DJ Sangvi,
yeah, in Juhu. Yeah. So anyway,
mechanical.
I did electronics and telecom.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was always you were used as a reference point when my parents wanted me to do an MBA. Now I think I've just got so much going on that I can't take away from this momentum.
Yeah.
But I have a couple of questions I've wanted to ask you. One, did it help you in your career? I want to know the honest answer. Two, can the MBA inside you kind of give us a small kind of essay on what the world of Indian films is like? Because I feel that there are very few MBAs, so you would have had some sort of a lens to view this film world with. Yep. I'd love to know it from your...
So to answer your first question, did my MBA help me? Right?
Yeah.
Yes, it did.
Okay.
Because it's not about the certificate or the degree you have. It gives you the power to choose what is right from wrong, or what you believe is right from the wrong. So gives me the power to make a very educated choice on what I'm selecting or what I'm doing.
And this isn't just films. These are all your choices in your career.
Everything, including, for example, just imagine a combination of self-conviction and doing your MBA. Honestly, barring a couple of films like New York Taxi 911, Kabul Express, Water, Zinda, No Smoking, or whatever, Jism, could count them on my fingers. I was honestly very unhappy with the films I was doing, which is why I decided to become a producer. I became a producer because the MBA in me said, you can manage this process, management. You can manage this process, you can become a producer, and you can make the content that you believe in, self-conviction. So I married the two. I married the fact that I have self-conviction and I have the education to back it and do the kind of films I want to. Is it a calculated risk? Yes, it's a risk. What's the other saying in MBA? The higher the risk, the greater the profit. I took that risk. Fortunately, it worked for me. It could not have worked for me. Imagine your first film being Wiki Donor, a story of a sperm donor. Okay? I was offered Wiki Donor, calculated risk. I said, I'm not the right person for it. I'm the wrongest person for it. The right person is this gentleman called Ayushmann Khurrana. Calculated risk. Fantastic actor. Worked in that space. Worked perfectly there. So I think MBA helps. Your second question.
What is the world of Indian films like, but from an MBA's perspective?
So when I came into the industry, from an MBA's perspective, when I saw the film industry, I thought it was the most disorganized, fragmented industry, period. I also felt, and without sounding condescending, because there's a lot of method in the madness that I didn't identify or understand, I also felt that there was no thought process behind making what was being made. I felt there was a sense of herd mentality. If one person makes something that works, everybody makes that thing. From an MBA's perspective, I found the film industry very disorganized, zero thought process. Today, the setup of the industry is far more organized. The thought process is still where it was. We've not evolved. We've not evolved. We're still, there are very few of us who've evolved, but we're still looking at the West for a model. We're still looking at content from, including myself, and I put myself in the same category. We're still looking at content from the South to have a crutch on, because how does the South create and we don't? I don't understand. Our technicians work and do the best special effects for Hollywood. Why can't we do 1/100th of that in our own country? Why, and through the MBA perspective, why is an actor's fee 50% of the budget of a film? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Where does the buck stop for an actor or for talent to say that, hey, listen, I want to contribute to cinema and not to myself now, because I can have my 3 meals a day? I'm saying these are relevant questions, you know, and I think when I look at it that way, I think it's still a race out there. So if someone says, hey, I've announced 5 films, the next person says, I've announced 4, 10, my fee is 50, my fee is 100, my fee is 100. You're not looking at the real picture. The real picture is creating cinema. And I say this saying that there is, and I say this on record, and I say this to you, and I say this to all these listeners, all these watchers, please don't be afraid of failure. Fail. There's nothing wrong with failing. Failing will only make you stronger. Failing will only teach you. Failing does not necessarily mean you've gone wrong. Failing could also mean that people have not seen what you're seeing probably at that point of time. So have faith in yourself. And I always come back to these 2 words, self-conviction.
I hear you about the self-conviction. And for me, this isn't a conversation between a YouTuber and an actor. It's just a conversation between 2 gym bros somewhere. I feel like I've just met you in some gym and I'm having a gymming conversation with you. Keeping that in mind, I've been getting into neuroscience a lot lately.
I saw something on your bicep workout that you were talking about, and you generously spoke about me also.
Right.
Thank
wow.
you.
You know.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
Wow.
Thank
you know,
you.
when I made that video, so it was, you need to keep making gimmicks on YouTube. So my series, to get more views, I called it Bollywood Bodies back in the day. And I said, this one's legs, but John Abraham's arms. I remember that. Wow. You saw that?
Yeah, I saw that. And I saw
I
the
used to
detail with which you did the structure for the long head, the short head of the triceps, everything. It's like fantastic.
Man, at that point in 2015, I used to pray to God every night that it reaches one of the guys I've made it on.
Oh.
This is a huge moment.
I saw it quite some time ago, and I was very impressed with the way you were talking about it, and whether you're talking about repetitions and, you know, form and
I mean, in at that point, I was a very big fitness nerd. I still am, but from like a different perspective now. That time I was like in the subject. But either way, you've been a part of that entire journey, man. Somewhere like, you know, you and me adopting lifting weights was because I saw Dhoom, I saw Force growing up, and I said, you know, I want that in life. So anyway, coming back to what I wanted to ask you, neuroscience says that any motivation you have in life, and it could be anything, it could be making a body or making your career or taking your career forward, is always from one of 2 places, a place of love or a place of fear. And 99% of the time, it's from fear. Though people might romantically say, no, of course it's because of love. And some people might say, oh, it's love for my wife, love for my mom. But it's actually because you have the fear of seeing them suffer. That's why you're working hard. It's still fear. And I've come to peace with that. I feel like I'm definitely working from some place of fear. I don't want to not live up to my potential. I want to live up to my potential in life. And that's the fear story I've cooked up in my head at age 28. But I have to ask you, like, why are you working so hard in life generally? Like, and it's things like, we hear people say that, you know, and I know it's true, you don't have cheat meals. So there is a part of yourself that has really pushed the discipline into your system, into your mind, into your lifestyle.
Absolutely.
What's the underlying why? Like, why are you being this intense on yourself? And I'm not accusing you of being condescending here. I'm asking to seek inspiration.
Again, I think, you know, you're very insightful and you're very smart. And I think you answered the question. I think it's the fear of losing everything. You know, I've built everything with, you know, coming from a very middle class background, coming with 550 rupees in the Bank of Maharashtra in your account, and coming to where I've come to, wherever little I've come to, there's always this fear in a middle class guy's head that he may lose everything and he may go back to where he started from. So there's one side of me that says, no, I can't give up being disciplined because I've worked so hard for it. I worked so hard for it, so hard for it. I don't deserve to have a cheat meal. I'll lose my career. That one shot is a matter of life and death for me, you know. So fear is the biggest motivator for me to stay where I am and in this ecosystem. And I mean, I could give you 10,000 philosophical reasons, but honestly, it's a fear of losing everything. The other side of me, which is I wake up one day in the month and I tell someone, you know what? I started at 550 rupees. At the most, what? I'll go to zero. I'd have lost 550 rupees. The whole circle of things. But that's not really it. It's building so much over a period of time. So you don't want to lose it because you've so cautiously and lovingly built up so much with so much of hard work, with so much of whatever credibility I have had, and I don't want to lose it, which is why training is important, diet is important, choosing films is important, films working is important,
Going vegetarian was very good for my mental health in the long term.
Oh, you're vegetarian?
Now.
Okay.
Have you also switched?
So, Ranveer, very honestly, I don't profess and I don't tell people to be vegetarian, and that's not my job, and I will not do that. But yeah, as my lifestyle, and I'm not saying that's good or bad, because there are arguments
Sure, on both sides.
On both sides.
And it's a personal choice.
Yeah, so in a personal space, I do consume eggs occasionally, very occasionally, very, very occasionally. But I don't consume milk, butter, nothing. And yes, I am vegetarian. It makes me feel better about myself.
How did you maintain the physique and how did you maintain?
I've lost a lot of weight. So during force, my record, and Venky's here, he'll tell you my makeup person, he's here. I used to have 51 egg whites a day. So, I mean, that's a different zamana and all that.
I've done that also.
You've done that?
Yeah, and I know what the farts feel like.
Freaking mental.
It's horrible. It's horrible for your girlfriend as well.
It's horrible. It's horrible. I forget the farts. It's why fart and waste when you can burp and taste.
Do you get bored when people ask you so many fitness questions? I'm sure you
No, not at all.
You enjoy talking about it?
I enjoy it, but I also say this on record. Yesterday I went to the gym, and I want to say this very honestly, and this actually happened yesterday. The guy who's training me, he asked me, "Sir, who's the best trainer you've trained with?" And I told him there is no best trainer I've trained with. I told him I have learned from every trainer. I've learned a little from every trainer. I've taken the best out of every trainer that has worked for my body, and I've learned. And I said, today also, I'm still learning. I'm not an expert. So sometimes in the media, even if it's projected like John Abraham knows everything, I do not. I do not know the exact forms on certain exercises. I do not know what the dietary habits of particular people should be. I'm learning myself. I'm probably a little more aware than a lot more people, but I'm also learning. I'm not educated. I'm not smart in that department. So, and he was shocked. He said, "Sir, you're serious?" I said, "Yeah, I'm serious." I said, "You're teaching me something now. I'm learning from you. You're teaching me a strip down set. You've asked me to lean in front and do a pull down. I'm probably learning that because it's affecting my triceps so much more than the way I was doing it earlier. And I've got this tendinitis problem." I said, "Listen, it's helping me. So what you're teaching me today is probably the best thing I've learned over these years." He said, "Are you serious, sir?" I said, "Yeah, I'm serious."
Did going vegetarian affect your mind in any way? Like, did you feel any kind of difference in the
Honestly, I'm as messed up as ever.
Okay.
Okay. I think it calms you down a bit, just a bit. But because I'm concurrently going through other issues, personal issues in my head, it's clouded. I don't know whether it's like the health of my parents is deteriorating. So watching them is kind of, taking away. So the personal issues in my life, there are near and dear loved ones that I'm seeing move away or come close, and it's affecting me. So those personal issues are kind of taking away from really understanding whether being vegetarian is calming me down or no.
Maybe that's the motivation.
Possibly.
All that stuff could be the reason you're driving so hard. What do you eat in a day, if you don't mind revealing your diet?
Okay, so my macros, usually I'll talk about my macros as a whole. So in grams of protein, it's twice my body weight.
Which is 170.
It's about 170. I have about 160 carbs, and my fat's also pretty high at about 65. So I maintain those macros. I keep my sodium low. My sugar is practically zero.
So it's like mainly vegan protein shakes and
Mainly.
little eggs and
Little eggs, sometimes. But I try and stay vegetarian or practically vegan as much as possible. But again, I don't beat my chest about it. I don't scream out in the air that hey, I'm doing this. No, because what will happen is then people start accusing you of doing a certain thing because there's so much of hypocrisy in what I'm doing.
Yeah.
If that was the case, then I wouldn't be sitting in a car with leather seats. You know what I'm saying? Because my motive is also very different in life.
Yeah. The one thing I've understood about your industry and your profession is that now this might sound like I'm being condescending, but I'm really
But you
not
can.
again.
Yeah, please
No,
do.
it's not that. Like
It's a freewheeling talk. You can.
for sure.
Yeah.
But the statement I want to make is I sense that there's a very natural and organic form of insecurity because you're scrutinized that much for how you look. You know, everyone's always like, oh, your face,
Absolutely.
this, your body, that. How does that make you feel as a man who's like sort of, you spent a long time in this industry. So you ever had any phases where you felt like insecure about just yourself?
You know, honestly, Ranveer, and I'm being very honest. First of all, I'm probably the first, and I say this looking at it from the outside perspective, I'm probably the first male actor who's been objectified so much. With Jism first, my first film, and then with Dostana, and with everything. Yes, of course, there is a lot of scrutiny. But again, you ask my crew, ask anybody around, I don't have a habit. I say this on record, I actually don't have a habit of looking in the mirror. I mean, Venki, Peru, they're here, so it's just that once where whilst something is being done, after that I don't. So luckily for me, and I just say this luckily for me, I'm not really consumed by that insecurity. Yes, it could happen at any point of time, but no, I'm not. I complain with my crew. I say, I become fat, a little fat. I do all that. But the vanity on the face, for example, doesn't exist. Because I know for one man food, for the other man poison, Ranveer. A person may really like you, B person may not like you at all. But you must learn to live with it.
But about your body, and even with age, like maybe the size of your muscles reduces a little bit.
Yeah, it does.
And for young guys, that troubles them a lot if they lose even a little muscle mass.
Yeah.
That's why generally in the fitness industry all over the world, there is that little element of insecurity where every guy is comparing himself to the bigger guy.
Absolutely.
How have you made peace with all that?
No, I'm fighting every day. So when I go to the gym, yesterday I was complaining that I'm not good enough. I need to fight. And my trainer said, you're so driven. I said, boss, if I wasn't driven, I wouldn't do extraordinary things. And if I wouldn't do extraordinary things, I wouldn't get extraordinary results. So you have to be driven to a point where you're possessed. And this is my bread and butter, Ranveer. I could talk about the 5 good films that I've done, but John Abraham's known for his body. You can't take away from that. So for me, I drive myself every day to go to the gym, to train harder. Okay, now let me put it this way. Do I look at comments in the comments section and say, oh my God, they said your body looks so bad in this film? No, I don't. I don't. And I'll tell you one more piece of trivia, which I've shared probably with one person I don't even know. I don't have any social media on my phone. I don't have WhatsApp. I've consciously decided when Facebook happened, I don't know how to log into Facebook. It's shocking, isn't it? But I've made a conscious decision. I don't have iMessage. I'm just on SMS. So if you ask me about comments, about things, so my manager, she handles my social media. And if you see my social media feed, I'm only following animal organizations or I'm posting stuff on films. Honestly, the way you use social media is fantastic. Fantastic. I'm not capable. I don't have the skill sets to use social media the way you do. Does social media help? In my case, it does because I'm so much into animal cruelty that it helps me a lot to make people aware. But can I use social media for my own self and say, hey, listen, this is a donut and now I'm going to the potty? I can't do that. I can't share so much of my life. And I saw, and you did it in a very beautiful way. When you were introducing your house, for example, you said, I'm so happy with this house and I want to share this with you guys. It came from your heart and you did it beautifully.
Thank you, sir.
I can't do that because I'm intrinsically a very introverted, shy person. I'm very socially I'm okay. I can talk to everybody, have a good time. But I'm very shy. I keep things inside me. So for someone like me, it's a bit unnatural to go out there and do it. So I don't know. I could be I could do otherwise, but I think I may go off social media in probably a week, a couple of weeks, a month. Yeah.
No, I hear you.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, your world as actors it's just too much stimulation. It's too many things coming at you. That's what I honestly look at it.
Yeah. But again, like I don't do in Rome as the Romans do. So I don't do as the other actors do. Because I don't hang out too much with anybody except with my motorcycles.
What do you do to chill?
Motorcycles. I call up motorcycle dealers. They realize it's my call. They disconnect the call also nowadays. Actually, and I'm like, I get so hurt. And it's not the ego. John Abraham ne phone kiya, not like that. Saying, why did you disconnect my call? Like for a Suzuki Hayabusa, I called up and they disconnected my call. And now I want that bike more now. Because it was my first bike, you know. Okay. So I wanted more. So I do these things for pastime. I'll go and I'll look at some property somewhere, or I'll take out my motorcycles, I'll clean them. For me, it's therapeutic to clean my motorcycles. I really enjoy the sound of my motorcycles till my neighbor complains. That's making too much sound. Then I'll say, okay.
I disagree with you about one thing you mentioned over the course of the last two questions. You said that you're known for your body, which I agree. Your brand is known for your body, but I feel people are changing their perception towards you. And
that's great.
You're getting known for like being an educated mind in this world. The whole MBA aspect and
Correct.
you know the fact that you got into production.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why I say that. Before every conversation, okay, first of all, like so these are not interviews. Like interviews are just questions thrown.
Correct.
This is me getting to know you over the course of a conversation, and to do that well, I have to ask a lot of people what they think about you. And almost everybody collectively said that there are only two dark horses in Bollywood, Shahid Kapoor and John Abraham. And they have their own trajectories, you know, independent of the pack.
Oh, wow.
And that's what the perception is changing into.
Oh, wow.
And I mean, see, for me, I'm talking to like a childhood idol of mine. I started lifting weights somewhere because I was really inspired seeing Force, etc.
Yeah.
So I'm almost embarrassed to tell you this, but I feel like you're really harsh on yourself. And I mean, I'm no one to tell you this, but I think you should. You've already created that legacy. That legacy is done.
So you think I need to take a chill pill for a bit?
I mean, I'm thinking of a very polite way to say that, but because I do feel an energy exchange in each of these conversations.
I probably need to hear that also, Ranveer, because I'm so hard. And literally, I feel it sometimes. I'm so hard on myself that I don't give myself even this much of space to say, okay, I've done it.
Do you cry at all?
Yeah, I do.
When you're alone?
Yeah, actually, strange as it may sound and really filmy, really filmy. Growing up, the only way I thought it was cool to cry was when I used to cry in the rain. It sounds very Charlie Chaplin-ish, but that was never the intent. But that's how I used to do it so no one could see. Then later on, in the middle, I just completely stopped crying because I said, men don't cry. Then with one of my ex-girlfriends a long time ago, and this was ages ago, I saw Titanic. And I couldn't control. And she was sitting next to me and I just tried to get brave, But yeah, I do cry. To answer your question, I do cry. But I cry for the voiceless, and very openly. Like I just break down. I can't control. For animals, for people suffering.
What about your own self?
I feel sorry for myself because I'm so messed up in the head sometimes. I feel sorry for myself, but there's nothing really to. I mean, I've been the creator of my own problems.
Maybe you're using them as motivation.
I do. You're a very smart 28-year-old guy. I must
it's the
say that.
Art of podcasting has gifted me all this. Dude.
No, you're very intuitive. I like the way you connect and the way you're talking to me. It's very interesting.
I don't do this on the podcast, but because at the end of it, I want to give you a hug, man. Like like. No, sit. You don't know what you've done for me as a kid. And the last time I felt like this, like even I'm getting emotional talking to you, honestly, man. I had Arnold Schwarzenegger on the show. And that and that was a huge deal for me. I got very emotional. Wow. And this is the second time I'm feeling that because all of us start lifting weights from a place of pain and insecurity. Man. You see someone and you say that, I wish I was like him. Yeah. And you were definitely one of those people. Arnold, you. you don't know John Cena.
Yeah.
You guys have had just a very like the teenage boy in me is like just enjoying this moment a lot. And maybe to end this particular conversation, I just want to say that dude, don't be harsh on yourself, because
No.
I look at you even in that whole, now I'm in media, so there's
Correct.
more inspiration for me to take from you, and to see you not being at your peak happiness that you're capable of being, it does hurt me somewhere.
Yeah, that's so sweet.
But man, I wish you the best. And
This is the best conversation, Ranveer. I tell you very honestly, this is the best conversation I've had in a long time. And you're a good kid. And my only advice to you, if I may, you
please
can throw it out of the window.
No, please, I'm here for that.
Yeah. I think you're so intelligent for your age and you're so evolved. It's also the exposure that we all have with social media. Just keep you have the power to rule and to do a lot. Just keep your head on your shoulders, your feet on the ground. And every time you think you're taking off a bit, just look down and just plant your feet back in again. And you can conquer anything. Just remember that.
I really appreciate it. I appreciate just like having
Yeah.
met you, and this podcast is just a bonus.
No, yeah, thanks, yeah.
Thank you for everything.
Thanks. I enjoyed this, yeah. See, the advantages of, being an actor, it's so happy to see you.
There's a lot of love directed towards you that probably you're not aware about because you're so into your hustle. But trust me, everyone here, especially my guys, I can speak for them because they're my team. We found in the morning that we're going to speak to you, and it was just like, let's go.
But three of them sleep they stay with you, no?
Yeah.
In the room.
Yeah, it's these three.
You're
guys.
the content creator. What's Sachin, huh? And what's your name? Ajinkya. Nachiket.
Nachiket.
You and Nachiket and
Girish.
two of them were sitting on the chair facing the other way when you introduced them. That was you. And who was the other guy sitting?
Yeah. So just, on behalf of all brown boys, thank you, John. You've done a lot, man. You've done a lot for us.
Wish you all the best with your podcast and BeerBiceps also. All the very best.
Thank you, sir.
Kill it.
Yes. So that was the episode for today. It was emotional, it was real, it was genuine, it was from my heart. Honestly, I'm still that same overweight kid on the inside, and this conversation was just two fitness enthusiasts talking to each other. But the key here was that one of those fitness enthusiasts grew up taking inspiration from the other one. This was a very important episode for me from an emotional standpoint. I genuinely got extremely emotional towards the end. Now, as a podcaster, there's certain things that you only understand when you're actually conducting the podcast. What I can tell you is that John was extremely humble, extremely welcoming, extremely emotional. But I sincerely hope that this podcast is sort of a turning point in his image. He's associated with fitness and being a bodybuilder, but people need to know about the brain inside this guy's skull. That's the key takeaway for me. He's extremely insightful. He's extremely analytical. That MBA that he did in his life has paid off. And I genuinely feel that this is just the beginning of sort of a second innings for brand John Abraham. Hope to have him on the podcast soon. Hope that you all follow us on Spotify. Every episode's available on Spotify 48 hours before it's available anywhere else in the world. Lots of beautiful TRS episodes coming your way. Thank you to the listeners, and thank you to John Abraham.